Hello, this is Candy with eyes2jesus.blogspot.com, and welcome to this little video that I just wanted to put out there to answer a question of confusion that a lot of people are having, especially this year, 2024. So that's why this video is called the Easter Discrepancy. So a lot of people, especially people who have planners or who use wall calendars, they've noticed that Easter is March 31st this year, 2024, but Christians have noticed, wait a minute, Passover isn't even this month. Passover is next month in April. And the Bible is clear that Jesus died on Passover. So a lot of Christians are having trouble reconciling how is Easter almost a full month away from Passover. Now, a lot of times Easter and Passover will land on same days or similar days, really close to each other, but not always. And this year that is the case. And notice I mentioned Easter and Passover. They're kind of separate things. Resurrection Day and Easter Day is separate. So we're going to discuss that discrepancy and why Easter is nowhere near Passover this year, and is that the day that Jesus resurrected? Are we celebrating Jesus' resurrection this year 1 month before the anniversary of the date of his death? And how is that making sense? It's not making sense. And when something doesn't make sense, then you need to take a look at and see if there's something that you are missing. So first of all, Easter. What is Easter? If Easter was a celebration of the resurrection of Jesus Christ, then wouldn't we be calling it Resurrection Sunday? What's Easter? So Easter is actually the name of a goddess. And in the Bible, she's recorded as Ashtoreth. And then in English, she is Easter, which used to be spelled looks like Ishtar and pronounced Easter, and now it's got the current spelling that it has now. This is the same goddess that is also the goddess of modern day Wicca, witchcraft religion. She goes under various different names. You also see this goddess in Acts chapter 19, where she's referred to as Artemis, or some Bible versions might say Diana. She is also Isis. She is also Aphrodite. She is the twin sister of Apollo, or Apollyon, or Abaddon. And you might recognize that if you have studied the book of Revelation, that Apollyon, he is the angel of the abyss. Not a good angel. His twin sister is Easter, Ashtoreth. Okay, so did Easter exist before Jesus resurrected from the dead? Yes, it did. Easter was celebrated even before Jesus was born, because it was Ashtoreth Day, and how we say it in fully in English is Easter Day. So Easter and Resurrection Day will sometimes be closer on the same day because they're both spring festivals, all right? Easter, being a witchcraft holiday, a pagan holiday, has to be determined via an equinox and a full moon. That is very witchy if you've ever studied witchcraft in pagan ways. So they take the date of the spring equinox. That happened, I believe, this year on March 19th. And then after that, you look for the first full moon after that, and then you go to the first Sunday that occurs after that first full moon, which this year, the first Sunday that occurs after the first full moon after spring equinox is March 31st. That's nowhere near Passover. And that's because Passover and Easter are just two spring festivals of two different religions. So here is the Easter discrepancy. People think that Easter is Resurrection Day of Jesus Christ, and so they're looking on their planners and they're like, but Passover is a month away. So how come Easter is happening before Passover? It's because Easter has nothing to do with when Passover is. Easter has to do with when the spring equinox and full moon is, and then the next Sunday after that. So it lands on March 31st. And how was Easter celebrated, or Ashtoreth Day? It was a sunrise service. There was an altar. They murdered babies from women. The previous festival were raped. And they then took those babies and murdered them. And then young children would run up and dip their Ashtoreth eggs or Easter eggs in the blood of those murdered babies to dye them. And then you have various other festivals or various other celebrations that started developing from that, such as Easter egg hunts and bunny rabbits, which is a symbol of fertility. What does a rabbit and an egg have to do with the resurrection of Jesus Christ? Nothing. Rabbits don't even lay eggs, but rabbits and eggs are both strong fertility symbols, and they both always point back to, if you follow the rabbit trail, back to Easter, or the name that she is in the Bible is Ashtoreth. Easter is the name of a goddess. So, when is Resurrection Day? All right, well, remember Jesus said he didn't come to get rid of the Torah. He came to fulfill it, and that is exactly what he did. So I'm just going to read here. This is from a list from an article that I wrote that is about the birth, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. And you can get this in more detail on a video on my YouTube channel at Eyes to Jesus by going to a video that's called Proof of the Deity of Christ. All right. So, first of all, the Bethlehem star. When the Bethlehem star was at its brightest, that happened to be on the Feast of Trumpets. All right, and then when the Bethlehem star was leading the Magi, well, that happened on the Day of Atonement. Now, when Jesus Christ was born on the Feast of Tabernacles. God tabernacling with humanity. When Jesus was baptized, he was baptized on his 30th birthday, and his 30th birthday that year landed on the Feast of Trumpets. Then when Jesus died, April 25th, 31 AD, he died on Passover. That year, 3 days afterwards, that following Sunday, Jesus died on a Wednesday, by the way, and that following Sunday, the resurrection day, 3 days in the grave, 30, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, he rose from the dead. That Sunday, that year, was the Feast of First Fruits, or the Festival of First Fruits. And the Bible tells us that Jesus resurrected on the first fruits. Just like the Bible tells us that Jesus died on Passover. That's completely clear in the Gospels. All four accounts, Jesus died on Passover. All right, and then Jesus resurrected on the following Sunday. That landed that year on the Day of First Fruits. And if you take a look at 1 Corinthians, let's go to that. 1 Corinthians chapter 15. So let me launch my YouVersion Bible app. All right, and go to 1 Corinthians. Let's go to chapter 15, and I'm going to go around to verse 20. Okay, so 1 Corinthians chapter 15, let's do verses probably 20 through 23. But in fact, Christ has been raised from the dead, the first fruits of those who have died. Paul didn't just pick that phrase or that term, first fruits, out of the air because it sounded good. He was talking about the festival of the first fruits, and that Jesus' resurrection is what? The first fruits of those who have died. Then, at our time as born-again Christians, we will be resurrected in resurrection bodies like Jesus got. He was the first fruit. Verse 21. For since death came through a human, the resurrection of the dead has also come through a human. For as all die in Adam, so all will be made alive in Christ. But each in his own order. Christ is the first fruits. Then, at his coming, those who belong to Christ. Resurrection Day isn't on the pagan Easter day. Sometimes they land on the same day. I think last year they landed on the same day. But a lot of times they are far apart. The year that Jesus died and resurrected, Easter was on April Fool's Day. It was on April 1st, and he resurrected on first fruits of that year, which was April 29th. This year, 2024, we're only one day off from the very year of Jesus' death and resurrection. That's amazing. So this year, the pagan Easter is on March 31st. But the day that Jesus resurrected, first fruits, is April 28th. So that is the Easter discrepancy. That is the answer. How did Jesus resurrect on Easter when Passover is next month and Easter is this month? The answer is because Jesus didn't resurrect on Easter. They are weeks apart this year, just like they were weeks apart on the very year of his death and resurrection. So you need to take this to God in prayer, Christian, because remember, God says that we are to worship him in spirit and in truth. Calling upon the name, invoking the name of a goddess. In English, her name is Easter. In the Bible, we see her name as Ashtoreth. And celebrating Jesus' resurrection on her day, when Jesus didn't even resurrect on Easter, he resurrected on first fruits, is not truth. If you want to celebrate Resurrection Sunday, that's going to be this year, that is April 28th, 2024. Have a blessed day.